tonight's game, Joe. What do you want to hit? Let's hit the fantasy first. So many people want to know about Tyreek Hill, Melvin Gordon. What do you think going into this game from what you've gleaned through each team about tonight's readiness?
Yeah, I think what I read is what we learned when we talked to the two head coaches and got their honest opinion. At least I'd like to think it's an honest opinion. As Andy Reid has been steadfast in saying it's no issue with Tyreek Hill. That's what he told us on the phone yesterday, and I would expect him to go. As I sit here in the hotel room and I look outside the window, it is a damp, chilly day. Not cold. It could be a way worse, but it is damp, and I think that might slow down the plans for Gordon. I don't know that this is the game, thinking about where they sit already in the AFC playoff picture, that you want to push a guy that's got, however severe the tear is. That's what a sprained knee is. It's a small tear. And run him out on this field and see how he plays. Well, who knows? But they were hoping it wouldn't be damp, and it's damp.
And it is that. So, okay, we'll see what happens, obviously, when active-inactive reports go down 90 minutes before you hit air with Troy. And, when you look at it, I guess, the Chargers would need to obviously win this and then get another Chief loss combined with the Chargers winning out, essentially, in order to win the division and get that bye week. So I guess there is still a longer game to be played for the Chargers here with Melvin Gordon, when you think of it.
Yeah, I think so. When we asked Anthony Lynn, or I did, I said, is this one of those games where you empty the bucket? Or is this one where you go, okay, yeah, it'd be great to win it, but let's be realistic about where we are, about where they are, meaning Kansas City. And Kansas City's in a great spot, mainly because of the season they've had, but also because of that loss, that crazy loss at Miami by New England last Sunday. So I don't know. It's a hell of a matchup. It's a great game. It's 11-2 against 10-3, but both are pretty solid where they are right now in the overall playoff picture, and I don't know that it's realistic for it to change before the end of the season. So I think they're gonna try to win the ball game, but I think, as you said, there's a longer game to be played, really, for each side.
Yeah, and I'm going through my head right now to think if you've had the Chiefs yet on Sunday, because this is their first Thursday night games. Is this your first look at Mahomes this year, Joe?
Oh God, yeah. This is our first Kansas City game in I don't know, 4 years.
No kidding.
5 years, somewhere in there. And then Troy and I were trying to think the last time we had the Chargers, they were obviously in San Diego, and I think it was a preseason game in 2014. So it's been a long time for each side. I think Phillip Rivers has had like 17 kids since we last did their game.
So many, maybe even more than you over the last 2 years.
Well,
right?
He was talking. Let me look. He just turned 37 the other day.
Right.
He's got me beat. His wife is pregnant with their 9th child,
that is unbelievable.
They have the same split as far as kids, over 9 children, 7 girls, 2 boys for the 3rd straight generation in that family.
I do not know how he does it. I honestly don't.
I don't either. And he still lives in basically the San Diego area. I know Peter King did a piece on him a couple of weeks ago talking about this conversion van that he watches film to and from their practice facility headed north. So his schedule's got to be just, you talk about tired.
I know.
He wins.
Well, it's working for him. He's never really played at as high a level like this with the weapons that he's had, really. When you think of the Chargers and the conversation about them this year, Joe, when Melvin Gordon is healthy, they're at the top of the most complete team list when you are thinking about the 2018 season.
No, I agree, and I think A, you're right about Phillip Rivers has been great, and B, I think their defense might be better than the other ones involved in the conversation. So no doubt, but it is pretty remarkable that Phillip Rivers at 37 is putting together the season that he's putting together, being in his 15th year, and obviously that same draft class with Eli and Big Ben, and their records speak for themselves. But I think when you look at the body of work for Phillip Rivers, the only thing missing is getting to and then winning a Super Bowl compared to the other two guys. But as far as physical health and ability and slinging it around and finding different guys, and he's I don't know. You could make the argument that of those three right now in 2018, he's the guy you'd want.
He is. One last question on this game before we move on to the rest of the NFL here, Joseph. You're the perfect person to ask this since you haven't had a Chiefs game in quite some time. Have you found Andy Reid different? Obviously, you've sat down with him in a lot of these pre-broadcast meetings or had him on the phone for years in Philadelphia. He appears to be just coaching like he's got house money these days. Joe, did you find him different?
Right. We talked to him, and that was my question kind of going out. I said, because of our travel schedule, we used to sit down with a lot of these head coaches and these players. Now we do a ton of our research and our little meetings on the phone, and players like that better, of course, and so do head coaches, to just pick up the phone instead of coming into a meeting. But I feel like we were with Andy Reid every other week when he was in Philadelphia, and just talking to him on the phone, he was like a different person. He was... And I said it to him. I said, you sound energized. You sound, like you're having way more fun. You sound like you're willing to give a ton more information. By the end of his time in Philadelphia, and I think for good reason, he was just he was burnt. And I think he was tired of talking about the failings of not getting over the hump. He took them to a Super Bowl, as you know, as well as I, and couldn't win in that 2004 season, but I think it just drained him. And him being in Kansas City and now him hitting the lottery with Mahomes, he gets a lot of credit, to trade up, get him at the number 10 pick, and then trade Alex Smith, who led the league in quarterback rating, who took this team to the playoffs year after year. They were division champion back-to-back seasons, and to go, okay, we saw enough in a Week 17 start with Mahomes to trade Alex Smith and go with the kid, and for this kid to be this good, that's a major win for Andy Reid, and I don't know that he gets enough credit around the league for that.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.